Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Dave Mazza, Managing Director and Head of Product at Direxion, to discuss an ETF that capitalizes on work from home, and it's a trend that's here to stay, or at least a hybrid of office and home. Dave, as always, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, Dave, what are some trends that you are seeing in telecommuting, and is it good for business?
It's really interesting. I think many companies hadn't thought about the need to have a hybrid model or even a fully remote model. And of course, the pandemic disrupted a lot of our ways in our life. And one of those in particular is our workplace. But what's interesting, if you peel back the onion and look at some of the data, both at the top line and hear what are CEOs saying, what are CFOs saying, and they're actually saying, in many cases, contrary to expectations, productivity of their workers has increased, and actually costs have the potential to go down. At the same time, if you look at data from millennials and Gen Z, what are they looking for out of an employer? What are they looking for out of work? And this is even pre the pandemic. It's flexibility. So again, it doesn't mean we feel like we're in an environment where it's either we're all going to be back in the office or we're never going to be in the office. That's really not what some of the trends are about. Again, if we look at what the hard data is telling us.
All right, Dave, and what are the 4 pillars that enable remote work?
Yeah, exactly. So when we constructed the work from home ETF, we focus on 4 pillars. It ranges from cloud security, cloud technologies and cybersecurity. So these are 2 technologies that really empower the potential for corporations to have employees in disparate locations. And then online and project management companies, along with remote communications. So these are the actual tools that employees are using to collaborate with one another, whether that's over video, tools like we're using right now, or to have store files that someone, whether they're based in Boston, New York, San Francisco, can access on demand, and again, in a secure way.
Yeah, and as you had mentioned before, many of these trends were in place, but it has been accelerated through COVID-19 because of the technology that's available and the migration to crowd. So how is the Direxion work from home ETF different than other technology ETFs?
Yeah, exactly. The real point here is technology. We couldn't have done this really on the scale we're doing today without all the tech from the companies that are in work from home. But the trend was already there. Even 3 years ago, 5% of the American workforce was working entirely from home. So that's 8 million people. And COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated these trends. But these technologies and the companies that are in this portfolio are really some of the companies offering the highest growth potential. They're disrupting more traditional service models from a technology point of view. So you're going to see a high concentration to the cloud companies, but you're also going to see an interesting mix of both large companies and small companies in this fund, right? So on the cloud side, you're going to see Microsoft, you're going to see Amazon, but this is an equal weighted fund, so they're not going to influence to the extent that they might in a market cap weighted product. And in addition, you're going to have names like Altesian Group and Twilio that may be less well known, but are really transforming the way we work and interact with one another when doing so.
So Dave, is this a levered fund like the other Direxion ETFs?
No, this is not. It's an important question. This is a 40 stock portfolio, not leveraged. It's not inverse. Just gives exposure to those 40 names. Among those 4 pillars, the 10 stocks that best represent that particular technology. And we actually use in a natural language processing, so AI-based methodology to identify those companies. Again, because we don't want this only to be filled with the obvious players. It's important that they're in there because they're the ones generating the revenue today. We also want some names that might just be providing some of the technologies that larger technology companies are actually buying or purchasing, again, to build that network, build the ability to collaborate and the like. So again, WFH is all about the revolution that we're seeing toward remote work, and it's done in a way that we believe will have some staying power regardless of when this pandemic and how this pandemic continues to play out.
All right, Dave, great to have you with us as always. Thanks so much for joining me on Trade Talks.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.